SmartAmericanAccentEducation.com, and this is my Smart American Accent training. In this video, we'll talk about the words real, and also the word rule. By the way, this is our live class, question and answer class. So this is the topic for the beginning of class. But if you have a question about pronunciation, fluency, intonation, or accent, anything that will help you improve your English speaking, feel free to put that in the comments in the chat at any time, and I'll turn to your questions after we begin with this topic. So this was a request from a viewer, and they wanted to know about these words. The word real, like a movie reel, and the word real as in true, have the same pronunciation. And they both demonstrate that the vowel E, which is a high front tense vowel, is typically spelled with letters EE or EA. It is also sometimes just spelled with letter E, as in me or he, but most commonly you'll see it with two E's, like see, or an EA, like mean or read. So there is a fairly consistent rule for spelling with these. About 95% of the time, EE and EA are going to say the tense E sound. It's the same sound we make for the letter E, and so this one's fairly easy to remember. Just be aware that you may see letter E and think of more of an A sound, depending on how it's pronounced in your language. So when we put those together with the L, real, they sound the same. So this is a real. But you may find that there's a little bit of a hidden sound in here. I talk about this, I do have a video just talking about the word real, but because we have the L at the end, when I'm saying eel, there's a little bit of a gliding from the high front vowel to that dark L. That's because when a word ends with L, it often has a little bit of an sound or an sound before the L sound. So as I move from the E to the I have a little bit of a linking with a Y sound there. So it may help you if you're finding that it's difficult to pronounce real naturally and smoothly, that as you move from the E to the noticing that it has a little bit of a gliding yuh in there can be helpful. Real. Also, I want to mention, I do have some videos for this, but when we move to the word really, it's not really like a real and an E. It's more like really, where we either say the E sound twice, really, or we often reduce this E sound to more of an I sound, like really. So when people are speaking fluently, unless they're saying really, where they're exaggerating and stressing on that word really, they will sometimes use the I sound, like really. I'm really busy, it's really pretty. So being aware that as we change from real to really, the vowel can change, and we lose some of this vowel to vowel linking, some of this extra yuh sound. I do have a new video about vowel to vowel linking that will be coming out soon, and some lessons where I talk about that in our Sounds of English course, as well as our American Accent 6-week course. We have linking within words and linking between words when we have two vowels in a row. So that's how we do real. When it comes to rule, this follows the spelling rule that says that when we have a silent E at the end of the word, it makes the letter say its name. So in this case, the letter U has the y and the u sound, but we just say oo for letter U when there's an E at the end. It is the double vowel rule, so I've rewritten it for you here with letters OO, just like we spell it in fool or school. And as I'm saying rule, I also have some of that vowel to vowel linking. This time, because I'm going from the rounded oo to the unrounded o with the schwa and the l, I'm going to have a bit of a w sound connecting those. Rule. You can see that in a word like jewel, that we actually spelled that with a W, rule and jewel, very similar patterning as I'm moving from the oo to the L. So I don't want a very strong W here, not rule, but rule. My mouth will naturally make the w shape as I'm moving from a rounded to an unrounded vowel. Once you can say real and rule by themselves, try practicing them in some short phrases just so they come smoothly and naturally to you. For example, as I said before, the reel was real. It's a real thing. She creates a lot of reels on Facebook. He needs to follow the rule. What is the rule about that? So those are just some examples. You can use these words however you would naturally say them, but make sure that you practice them both by themselves and in short phrases so that you can develop those new pronunciation patterns, say them easily and fluently when you want to use them in speech. Okay, welcome. It's nice to see so many of you here this morning, and thank you. I see there's some questions in the chat already. Do feel free to put your questions in the chat at any time. If you're joining us later on or watching this as a replay, you can also leave questions in the comments, and I do go through those after class and get back to you with resources and answers. So we have a question about some more homonyms, just like we had real and real, two pronunciations. We have this knead. Oops. So I'm not doing the same order as you, but we have knead. Like I'm gonna knead bread, knead, someone kneed me in the leg, and knead. All three of these, same pronunciation, just different spelling. So the letter K is silent in these two words. Again, you see we have the EE and EA pronunciation of the vowel E, just like we had in real. And then the N and the D sound. So the IPA would be need, and you can just think of them all as this kind of pronunciation. I need to knead the bread. I need to know if he kneed you in the leg. Yeah, this one is probably the least common past tense of to knee. We have knees, and we can, to knee someone is to use your knee to hit them. And then this is obviously the most commonly used pronunciation and spelling, the verb to knead. Yeah, good observation. Those are all the same. We have a question about the word drudgery. So thinking about drudge, like you would think about judge, that we have the DGE spelling, just like we have in edge or judge. That says the j sound. We just don't typically spell it with J when it comes in the middle or ends of words. And then when we're doing drudgery, if I have drudge, it's one syllable. Drudgery is 3 syllables. It changes a little bit. So we have the DR, letter U says the the schwa, first syllable stress. And then the j sound in the IPA is written like that. And then we have the and an E. So thinking about it like drudgery. It was drudgery, having to do that yard work. Yeah, that's a difficult one. So it is kind of like the word jury at the end as well. You can think about how we have injury, drudgery, jury, the jury. The jury's work was drudgery in that case. Yeah, good word. Thank you. That's probably other people have that same question about that word because of how it's spelled and the challenging combination of sounds in it. Great question. Okay, we have a question about the word groupmate, whether it's a long or short, if it's an oo sound or an sound, and does it exist in American English? I don't think we really use that. So if you had someone in a group that you were working with, we would say like classmate, roommate, but I've never heard groupmate. But group does have the oo vowel, so it would be groupmate. We wouldn't release that P probably, not groupmate, but groupmate, an unreleased P there. Yeah, but I don't think that's typically used here. we might, if you had someone in your group, you would probably just say a colleague or someone in my group rather than a group mate. Did they use that? Where did you hear that? Did they use that in other English-speaking places? Let me know. Great question. Okay. We have a question about the word opprobrium. Okay, so I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly. I'm going to have to look it up. I'm assuming that we have second syllable stress because brium is probably unstressed. But it could be opprobrium or it could be opprobrium. Let's look it up in Merriam-Webster, which I happen to have handy. I typically use online dictionaries as well, but it's good to have a paper dictionary on hand for this kind of situation. So it starts with OP. Please bear with me as I look it up so I can make sure that I'm answering you accurately. It's not a word that I typically use, so OPPR, opprobrium. Yeah. So it does have it's a brium. It doesn't really show me the it shows me the pronunciation for opprobrious. Okay, so opprobrium. It will be second syllable stress, which means the first letter O, rather than being an O sound, is going to be a schwa sound. And then we'll have the stress on the pro syllable, and then an E. So while I had it open, I should have looked up what it meant, but I will do that after class. Here's the pronunciation for you. So you might want to start on the stress syllable probrium, opprobrium. Yeah, thank you. Learned something new today, and I will also learn what that word means by looking it up again later. Thanks for that request. Okay, we have a question about what are you and what do you, and whether or not these can both be pronounced as whudduhyuh. Yes. So they can. So when I do what are you, I can say that as whudduhyuh, or what are you. I do have a couple of videos talking about this reduction and helping you to make these sounds. So the R becomes an the U can become a yuh, and the T is flapped as we link, what are you. What do you? We link these as well, and it becomes whudduhyuh, where the oo gets reduced to a schwa. The T is flapped and becomes just one flap rather than what do. We get whudduhyuh. So what do you think? What do you like? That's the most typical reduction for this one. Here, for what are you, we'll get whudduhyuh, but sometimes some people will drop that which then makes it the same as whudduhyuh. What are you doing? What are you thinking? What are you? So both are acceptable, and the difference is that sometimes this one will have an this one won't. And context will usually tell which one you're saying. So if I'm saying, what do you think? It's not going to mean what are you think, but what do you think? And what are you doing? What are you doing? Then you're going to hear that it's what are you? I typically think I keep that what are you? Or what are you? When I'm linking on this one. But there's places where people will drop it. It may be more casual, and also it may be, for example, a New York or Boston accent. They're not necessarily going to do that R sound. So you will hear both of them sounding like whudduhyuh. Yeah, good question. You can get more help for both of these phrases, how they're linked and reduced, in our Fluent speech playlist, as well as in our Real Talk course. We walk through reductions and linking for Fluent speech. And kind of teach you in that case which ones are casual and which ones are just happening because of connections in speech, and which are formal and professional, and then you can use them in all contexts. So check that out on our website, speechmodification.com. That's our Real Talk course. Also here on the channel in our fluent speaking playlists. Okay, great. Lots of wonderful questions today. Nice to see so many of you here. Let's look at the next question. We have the question about actually and virtually. So actually, virtually. I can say it as actually, actually. That's the full version. People will often actually say this without the sound. So it'll sound more like actually. How people actually say it. First syllable stress. So you can say actually with 4 syllables. More commonly, you'll hear a shorter version, actually. What he's actually saying. Same thing with virtually. Can be virtually, 4 syllables, or virtually, virtually. But in both cases, we stress the first syllable. Virtually or virtually, actually or actually. I do have a video for this one, and I think I also have a video for virtually. You can use the search box. When you go to our channel page and look at across the top, you'll see home and community. There's a search box there right on the channel page, and you can type in your word or your question. If I have a video for it, it'll pop up. Or you can also leave comments on any of my videos for your word, asking if I've covered that in a video, and I'll send you the link to see a longer video and explanation on your word. Thank you. Okay, we have a question about the word mischievous. So I think it's spelled with an E and not an I. You spelled it this way, mischievous. This might be an E here. Mischievous. Maybe you're right. Anyway, in either case, the pronunciation is the same. Where we can say mischievous, so same thing, mischievous, but more commonly you'll hear mischievous behavior. I do have a video for this as well to help you break that down and learn the couple of different ways, correct ways to pronounce it. Yeah, good one. Thank you. Okay. If you're asking multiple questions, I will come back to your second and third questions. I want to make sure to answer something from each person who's attending today. So hang in there with me, and if there's time at the end, I will address your additional questions. We have a question, let's see, about in 70 is different than the flap T in 80. So if we have 70 or 70 and 80. So in 80, it's a straightforward flap T because it's between 2 vowels and it's an unstressed syllable. So it sounds like 80. With this being the flap, it's not a strong D, 80, it's just a light flapping up. In 70, I think when there is an NT, you can say 70. People will also sometimes drop that T and say 70. That sounds like 70. With almost no vowel there, 70, or 70. I think 80 and 70. This D is this flap T is a little bit lighter because it's coming out of the N. So I have 70 people, I have 80 people, 80. It's arguable that they are the same, but you might also just be hearing people saying 70 without the flap in some cases as well. And in 70, sometimes people will use the T, but then you might sound more like 17. So you want to, I think using a flap is a better way to go, 70, 80. I do have videos for both of those words and for other numbers, so you can hear me talk about those differences in those videos as well. Okay, great. Question about the V in have fun and the Z in always stuck. So this is an example of if I'm linking between a V and a F and always stuck, the Z to S linking. I don't have to strongly make two separate sounds. I don't have to do have fun, but rather have fun. I can, as I'm saying my V, just turn my voice off and it'll turn to an F. Have fun, have fun. Also, the V is not going to be as strong. Have fun, have fun. I'm just going to lengthen this vowel so we perceive it as a V. If I say have fun with a strong V, it sounds too long. Have fun, have fun. So it's almost like I'm saying have fun with no V sound, just an F sound. But keep your ah sound long. Otherwise, it's going to sound like have fun, have fun. It's not going to sound accurate. Same thing with always stuck, always stuck. Long vowel, the Z can be there or it can be dropped and I can go right to the S. Always stuck, always stuck. So I just don't need a strong Z or a strong V in either of those cases. Yeah, that's a good phenomenon. I should make a video going into more detail about voiced to voiceless sounds. These sounds are made in the same placement. So that's why that is kind of a unique way we link and connect between those sounds. Okay, questions about distributed, distribute, and distributing. So in distributed, first of all, distribute without the T, we have distribute. Second syllable stress, we have the I vowels and the B, the U here is a Y and an U, bute, distribute, second syllable. And distributed, change your final T for a flap, distributed. We distributed the package. Will you distribute it? And then distributing, change to, again, a flap and then the ing, distributing. She's distributing the goods between the people. Yeah, good words to ask about. Thank you. Okay, we have a question about American accent, English accent course. Yes, on my website, speechmodification.com, I have a number of online courses. For general accent, our 6-week course is a great place to start. I also recommend our Sounds of English course as a foundation for American accent and American English pronunciation. And then we also have our Real Talk course that I was mentioning for fluent speaking. That's a more advanced course looking at linking and reductions. You can also get an all-access pass for just $4.99 for a month to try all of the different courses. We have about 10 courses in total on the website. So check those out on speechmodification.com. And if you go to the channel page here on YouTube, you can find links to take you to the online courses as well. Thank you for that question. Okay, question about 90 and 90s. So if I'm talking about like the 90s, I don't know. I was thinking about how I like to write the I vowel, so I was misspelling 90s. So in the 90s, again, this is sort of like 70, where we do a flap. So I don't do 90 and 90s, but 90 and 90s. So the I diphthong, 9. You'll see it in the dictionary with the T, but it is a flap, so it sounds more like 90 and 90s. Final Z sound for the 90s. So back in the 90s in Seattle, grunge was popular, and my grandma was over 90 years old by the end of her life. Yeah, okay, thank you for that question. We have a question about how do you in fluent US accent. So how do you say, how do you pronounce, how do you like your coffee, how do you. We just pretty much link it. It depends on what's coming. How do you listen? How do you can sometimes get reduced to a yuh. In this case, I think more frequently we would keep the oo. How do you? So really just thinking about the ow. How do you? All linked together. How do you? We might change this to an how do ya? Then I think we would probably change both. How do you say? How do you like it? How do ya? Another option. How do you or how do ya? Yeah. I think it's pretty common to just link them though and not reduce them too much for that particular phrase. Great. Okay. All right. We have a word that I'm not sure about. It looks like honorificabilitudinitatibus. So anytime you encounter a longer word like that, first of all, a dictionary is going to be helpful. If it's not in the dictionary, it may be that it's not truly a word, or it may be just not very common or hasn't made it to the dictionary. But what I'd like to do is break it down into its parts, into its syllables, and then you can make some educated guesses. So I do have a video about supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which is not a word that you necessarily have to say, but it breaks it down and teaches you about how to encounter or how to attack longer words like that. And this would be another example of that. Let's see, habitude. I'm trying to keep track of everything you're saying. Honorificabilitudinitatibus. Okay, so thinking about honorificabilitudinitatibus. That's what I would say. So I'm kind of following the rules of second to last syllable stress within the chunks of this word. So I would go honorific, this would be a schwa, bitudinitatibus. That would be my guess. If you want to know for sure, I can research that for you, to look about what it means, but you have to think about how figuring out where the stress syllables are. Those are going to give you the clear vowels, and then the rest of your sounds are going to be like or I sounds, schwa or I, in the unstressed syllables. Yeah, okay. I don't know for sure what that word is. Never encountered it before, but that's how I would attack it as an unfamiliar reader or speaker of that word. Okay, great. We have a question about pronouncing with you. You've heard it coalesced into with a CH sound, whudduhyuh, or whudduhyuh, voiceless and unvoiced dental fricatives. So I don't do either. I use a TH. I do with you and link it together. I'm with you. Some dialects of English will do a whudduhyuh with a ch. I'm whudduhyuh. A whudduhyuh. I would say the voiced one sounds unnatural to me. I would probably avoid either of them unless you're speaking in a dialect that strongly uses that. But I would stick with. I'm with you. I'm whudduhyuh. Yeah, to me it sounds less educated, especially if it's not, if it's part of a dialect that you speak because it's a regional dialect or a social dialect. There's nothing wrong with it, but if you're trying to speak with more of a standard speech and the other aspects of your speech don't contain elements of that dialect, it's going to sound uneducated or incorrect. So it's not that it's wrong for the dialects that use it, but I wouldn't recommend it generally speaking. Okay, we have a question about Atlanta. So I do have a video for Atlanta asking about whether we drop the T's. Yeah, and people, native speakers who live there might say Atlanta, Atlanta. This is an unreleased T, Atlanta, Atlanta, Atlanta. They don't really do Alana, I don't think. I don't think they drop it entirely. This one does get dropped entirely though, because NT in the middle, like interview, we drop those T's often. You can check out my video for that to hear more details on Atlanta. Okay, great. A couple more questions and then we'll need to wrap up for today. It's so nice to see so many of you here and wonderful questions, so thank you very much. Questions about words with many R's in it. So for veterinarian, I do have a video for veterinarian. I'll put the link for that for you after class. Just break it down syllable by syllable, veterinarian, and know whether the ER says the AR says air or R. That can be very helpful. On my R playlist, there's a lot of words with R and a lot of help for challenging words like rural or veterinarian where there's multiple R's. Okay. Quick question. I do also have a video for version versus virgin, looking at the zh in version and the j in virgin. And just this one continues. So if I'm saying version, zh, I want that same sound, continuing sound like in measure. And virgin, this one pushes out and doesn't continue. But I will refer you to my video on that. I have two different videos covering it, a long version and a short version of that topic. Okay, good. We have a question about how people pronounce hi, and you see people pronouncing it differently. I'm not sure how else we would say it besides the h and the I. This high is the same as this high. So high, he's up high, same pronunciation. People use different words sometimes. They might say hey, or hello, or other things, but hi is typically just pronounced with the I diphthong, like I. So you could think about I, say, hi. Those should rhyme. Wonderful. Okay. Question about why do we use schwa sound for THs? I'm not sure what you mean there. So if you're thinking about the word the, we use the schwa sound because that's how we pronounce it. But I'm not sure about your TH question. So if you want to clear that up for me, you can leave a follow-up comment or question. Wonderful class today. So many great questions. I'm hoping that I didn't miss anybody along the way. If I did, leave me a comment after class and remind me what your question was. I'll go back and give you some answers. I know I have a few follow-ups to do on veterinarian and version and virgin. I can send you those links for those videos as well. Again, if you had a question and I didn't get to it, please leave me a comment on this video or any of my videos. I'm happy to come back, send you resources here on the channel and also on our website, speechmodification.com. I'll be having our next live class in a couple weeks. I'm going to be taking a couple weeks off from live class, but we'll continue to have our videos throughout the week for Fluency, Word of the Day, Special Sunday, and Mini Mondays. I will have some bonus classes on Saturdays. They just won't be live. So come back in 3 weeks for our next live class. Hold your questions in the meantime or put them in comments for me. And thanks so much for being a part of the channel. I really appreciate your support. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.